Yeah, good morning, everybody. Hello, how are you? Channel 32.3 The Loop. I am here with my friend, John Tyler from the California Highway Patrol. What's going on, my man?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. A little bit of fog out there.
I was telling people, I was trying to wear something a little bit darker, and I guess it really didn't pan out right. I try to do a little camo here because I feel like I've gained some weight from the Thanksgiving holiday, so I'm trying to cover up.
I thought black was the right color.
Yeah, I didn't do it right. I'm just totally off. But my mom texted me, and she said, Mijo, you're perfect. Don't worry about it. You look great. So.
No. We've all gained a little bit of weight as we get older.
Well, I got to tell you, man, one of the things I've been telling our listeners and viewers this morning is foggy daytimes are here. I mean, it's just, you're in Central California. There's no way around it. I was actually talking to family members of ours that just moved from Northern California, and I just told them, I said, hey, you're in the San Jose area out there, but here in Central California, you're going to see some fog.
Yeah.
And it just, for some reason, you and I were talking about it, for some reason it gets pretty bad right here in this area that we live in right now. So,
oh, yeah. Some people joke, oh, yeah, we got fog, and it's like, no. You don't have our kind of fog. The fog that we have here in Kings County and in the valley, that Thule fog, is probably one of the worst, in the nation as far as, traffic conditions. There's stories over and over and over about, like the History Channel did a whole show on the Thule fog. Yeah.
Now, tell me, I mean, I don't want to get too scientific here, but just so I can kind of get a grasp on how fog is created.
I'm not a scientist.
But, I mean, it comes from rain, right? That's how fog is created.
Well, it's the moisture. It's the moisture in the air.
Okay.
From the ground. And essentially, it's just that we see clouds up in the sky. It's just those clouds settling, and blanketing us on the ground.
And what I just don't get is, like, sometimes you're driving in the fog, and, like, it's, it can get bright when you have your lights on. You're not supposed to do that, right?
Not your high beams.
Ah, okay.
Low beams only.
Low beams only. Okay.
So those high beams will actually, illuminate that water vapor directly in front of you, and it not only hurts your vision, but it hurts the vision around you.
Well, and that's what I was telling my listeners and viewers last week, was I said, once foggy day schedules start coming in, you got to start being really prepared to give yourself some extra time when going to work or taking the kids to school, because you're going to drive slower. You're just going to have to. There's no way you can drive that fast in the fog.
No, and really what it comes down to is people. We look out our windows, we look out the driveway, and it's like, oh, it's crystal clear. They leave their house, and maybe they're 10 minutes from work, and all of a sudden it's covered in fog. I live in Visalia, and I was doing something at the Navy base last week, and as I left Visalia, crystal clear, 65 miles an hour down 198, right about the time I got to Hanford, right about 12th Avenue.
Wow.
Sucked, completely, down to a couple hundred feet visibility. But then once I got past Lemoore and back out and towards the county, crystal clear again. Could see 5 miles.
That's what they call the patchy fog, right? Mm-hmm. So patchy fog is very dangerous because you think you're clear, and then all of a sudden you hit a patch, in which you got to be careful of.
How long does it take you to get here today?
About 10 minutes.
Yeah. You talk to people down in L.A. or the Bay Area, and you ask them, how long does it take you to get to work? And they're like, well, between 5 to 2 hours, depending on traffic. Here in Kings County, we don't deal with traffic problems. We don't have that unpredictable, traffic patterns over here. Most people, it's funny, they'll tell you, it takes me 12 minutes. It takes me 13 minutes to get to work, or 22. There's exact numbers. But here in Kings County, we don't have those traffic issues. So when that fog settles in and you didn't give yourself extra time, then you're trying to, make time. You're trying to make up that difference. Maybe you're running a minute late. You know what? When it's foggy, take one on the chin. Hey, boss, I'm going to be late.
Now,
accept that.
Is that the most common thing that you try to tell people when being safe in fog conditions, is to give yourself some extra time?
Well, give yourself extra time because you're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to slow down, perhaps to 30 miles an hour, even slower on the freeway. We want people to slow down to a point where they can perceive and react to the dangers ahead. And so when we talk about the fog, and we talk about maybe visibility is 100 feet, and that's all you can see, or 75 feet, at 60 miles an hour, you're doing 90 feet per second, roughly. Okay? Now, do you know what perception reaction time of a human is?
No.
No? Let's play a quick game.
Okay.
You want to play a quick game?
Yeah.
All right.
Here we are. We're live, folks. All right, let's do this. All right. We got some money here.
All right. Put out your hand.
Okay.
Now, like
Just
put,
one?
Put it like that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. A little bit wider.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when you see the bill start to drop, grab it. Why didn't you grab it? So that's
It's
perception.
too fast, man.
That's perception reaction time. That's perception. You can keep that. That's a tip. No, but that's perception reaction time.
Okay.
You, as humans, it takes us 1.5 seconds to see something and react to it. It doesn't matter how much. When we do this over and over, you're going to get better at it. But it's fun to play with kids. But what it is that your brain goes, dollar bills dropping, and reaction is to grab it. But it's already happened. So when we're driving at 60 miles per hour, 90 feet per second, and you can only see, 100 feet in front of you, you've already rear-ended the car that's stopped in front of you, and you haven't even hit the brakes. And we know foggy conditions, wet, cold roads, we haven't even talked about the braking of the vehicle. So we have to slow down to get inside that math formula that it takes us humans to perceive and react to. So that's where it's 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, depending on the situation, we need to slow down.
Now, what about people that say, "Oh, well, I'm following cars. I'm okay. I can see, the brake lights. I'm behind the car, so I'm going to be okay." You don't want to put your trust in another car, right? I mean, that's not the way to do it.
No, because they're going to take, their perception reaction time is no better than yours, and so is they're rear-ending the big rig that stopped in the road ahead. You're not going to be able to stop and perceive to, react to that either. And so, increase those following distance, but also slowing down. Slowing down, and people say, "Oh, but if I go too slow, I'm going to cause a crash."
Yeah.
We'd much rather you go slow and avoid a crash and continue on than actually be involved in it. And so when we look back at what happened January 31st of this year, okay, fog season roughly runs from November to February. January 31st, we had the 4-mile-long pileup on 198. And in that, it wasn't 110 cars piled up. It wasn't 110 cars touching. It was 2 cars over here, 3 cars over there, and it was a series of individual crashes. Because what happened was there was a single crash, people drove around it, but then somebody back behind didn't. They came in too hot, they caused another crash. Time went on, 30 seconds, maybe a minute went by, another crash happened. And so
I remember that, yeah.
4 miles long of 2 car, 3 car, even solo vehicle, because they see something, saw somebody in the road ahead, and they swerved off and hit the wall or went through the guardrail, things like that.
So what's the speed that you do recommend? And I don't even know if there's any rules out there as far as speeds during foggy days, but what do you recommend? I mean, at zero visibility, how fast should you go?
If you don't feel safe and you don't want to, and there's no, you don't have to continue driving. Pull over, don't park in the lanes, but exit the freeway and wait till the fog passes. But when you talk about the law, there's a law specifically, the basic speed law.
Okay.
And that's 22350 of the vehicle code. 22350 says we have to drive at a safe speed for any conditions, okay, whether it be snow, fog, rain, smoke, etc., dusty conditions. We have to drive our vehicles, his or her vehicle, at a speed that they can safely control it, whatever the circumstances may be. And so when we're out there, when you consider the fog, what's the safe speed? Well, that's the speed that you can see something, perceive, and react to it. And so there is no quote-unquote speed.
Yeah, that's what I was trying
there's
to,
a limit. We know there's a limit. But then,
exactly.
it just depends. It just depends.
Now, I know this might be off subject, but it might pertain to what we're talking about here. But let's just say the speed limit is 55, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going 35 on a 55. Can you still get a ticket for going slow on 50? No.
Not if the conditions negate,
So foggy day. On a foggy day, you're okay.
No, absolutely
Regular day, clear skies.
Yeah.
Do you get a ticket for going that slow?
Most likely not.
Okay.
You might get stopped, but it's really going to be on the totality of circumstances. That officer, basically deciding that this is the appropriate enforcement action. Now, should that officer, if you see somebody doing 20 miles below the speed limit, yeah, we'll say hi to that person. But most likely, there's going to be something going on. Besides.
At least wonder why. Right?
Exactly. That's what
why are you going so slow?
That's what being a CHP officer is just seeing those differences. Going, what's going on over here? But yeah, back to the fog.
Yeah.
Another thing, headlights. So if we have new cars, everybody driving around right now, look around because it's pretty hazy out there. I know we've got some fog out there between Visalia and Hanford along the 198. But our headlights, we have to turn those headlights on manually. And so when you look down at your car, if you have auto headlights, they're most not likely on right now.
Okay.
They have to be switched to actually turn on the headlight. And
so what you're saying, you're talking about the on your vehicle, if you go to auto, which most people do just on a daily basis.
The newer cars are great. They turn on automatically.
They're not going to turn on in foggy conditions.
In the daylight. So when the ambient light gets like this, like it is this morning, even though it's foggy, those headlights are going to turn off, and so you're driving around basically, no.
So you got to remember to switch that.
Yeah, and those daytime running lamps that we have on some vehicles, they're kind of like headlights, but they're a little bit dimmer or maybe different color, or like those LED lights. Those are not your headlamps. We need the exact headlamps on.
Okay, all right, that's good advice there. Also, I wanted to ask you another thing in regards to foggy conditions. So, a lot of people are going to taking their kids to school, and I've noticed, just in my own personal experience with my kids or with my daughter, taking her to school, there seems to be a lot of traffic during that one moment when everybody's trying to get to school at the one time.
Oh yeah.
So, what would you recommend? Because that's not driving just on a freeway. That's actually driving maybe at lower speeds, but also in a congested area in the fog. What would you recommend there to be safe?
It really just being aware of what's going on around you.
Okay.
Don't limit distractions in the vehicle. Obviously, safe speed for conditions. Even in those school zones, it's 25 miles an hour when children are present. But that doesn't mean you need to go 25. If you want to go slower, by all means, because little kiddos run around with little backpacks. They're very unpredictable kids.
It's almost like you have to put in the extra effort during these times when you're driving. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say you're driving right now and you're always thinking about, okay, I got to drive safer. I can't take that call, can't do this, whatever. No distractions. You almost have to put in an extra effort on top of that.
Well, if you
know what I mean?
If anybody that's driven in the fog and got stuck in that really bad fog, you get home and your heart's beating. I mean, you're sweating. You're like holding on to the steering wheel as hard as you can. Yeah, I mean, it's very dangerous. And I think that, for us that live here and have lived here, we're very passionate about how we drive in the fog. But, this is 198's a thoroughfare. People are traveling up and down the state, cutting through our community. So we have to keep sharing that message and not become complacent to, the habits that other people make. And if they're going to speed, don't fall for it. Do your speed, get to where you're going safely, and hopefully we all will.
What about the people that say, I can just put my head out the window and follow the lines?
Well, if we want people to roll down the window, say you're in an intersection, look and listen, because that extra perception of sound, in the fog, sometimes, you can't see the car, but you can hear it coming if it's like a big rig or thing like that. It's good to do that, but yeah, sticking out the head, no.
That doesn't work.
No. But, the only time I've really pulled people over for doing that is because their defrosters didn't work. And so their windshield's fogging up, and so they're having to stick their head out the window because, so that's another thing that we can talk about is preventative maintenance, making sure that your vehicle's working properly and making sure that you get it checked out before the season comes around. So if you've got a car that's maybe having little issues, because if a defroster's failing, maybe it's something going on with the heater, maybe it's plugged up, maybe it just needs to be serviced.
I was going to mention that because, and this might be like you said, a whole different topic in regards to maintenance, but there was a person nearby my neighborhood that was driving around me, right? And I noticed that you could not see anything out their front windshield, the big window, right? So I'm going, wait a minute. This person either was in a hurry and they just got in their car and left. That's not the right way to do it. You got to wait till you get a clear windshield, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, because I'm over here sitting, waiting for my window to clear up, and then getting on the road. This person, I mean, they literally left their house.
Yeah, all fogged up.
All fogged up.
Yeah, and there's a number of things that you can do. Just putting a towel on the windshield, will kind of take some of that ice off. If it's super cold, you can just get up in the morning, take the towel off. You got a clean windshield. But when it comes to the fog, it's basically the temperature inside the car. Is so hot, and maybe the moisture level's up a little bit because there's a human in there. But, there's a number of things you can do. Roll the window down, just crack them a little bit, and that'll kind of circulate the air to kind of, equalize out the moisture and the humidity inside the car. But really, yeah, just making sure that it works up and running. What's it take? 30 seconds, 45 seconds?
I was like, wow, like they're not going to be able to see for another.
You know what? I got an idea. While you're sitting there waiting, finish that text message.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we do this every Tuesday here on the Eggs, Bacon, and Joey Morning Show. I want to thank John Tyler from the California Highway Patrol for joining us this morning. And, man, foggy days are here, my man.
Yeah.
So we got to be safe.
Slow your pace. It's not a race.
There it is. Slow your pace. It's not a race. I like that. We got to make some T-shirts.
That was Caltrans.
Oh.
Nah, I can't. I got to give him that one.
Yeah, give him the props on that one. All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tune in every Tuesday, 7:15 a.m. or when we can get to it. CHP, John Tyler joining us here on the Eggs, Bacon, and Joey Morning Show. We'll be right back.